And we want to tell you that our members, the members of the Azimio coalition, many of them have filed amendments. And they had filed amendments as early as yesterday and today morning. But unfortunately, it looks like there is instructions. There are instructions from the Kenya Kwanza regime that that bill must be passed without any amendments. And for that reason, they are not listening to any logic. They are not listening to any amendment that can improve the bill. They are not listening to any issue that can make life better for Kenyans. So we have decided that we have instructed our members now to drop all the amendments because they are not being listened to. They are not being, engaged in a manner that can make the bill better. So we have decided now to walk out from the committee of the whole house. We are going to prosecute now this matter in the public court, and we are going to tell Kenyans who is against them and who is with them. Because what is contained in that bill is going to make the lives of Kenyans miserable. And this is not what Kenya Kwanza people promised Kenyans during the campaigns. So this is not a law-making process, as Honorable Otiende has said. This is a rubber stamping process. A bill has been manufactured elsewhere, brought it to Parliament, then it went through some, charade of public participation here and there, listening to the views of the people, and now it is being passed here, just like the way the security bills were passed in the year 2014. That it must happen, it must go through, it must be implemented. I thought the law is being made for all Kenyans, irrespective of which party you belong to, irrespective of how you voted. It's a law that's going to affect all Kenyans. So views, members of parliament here are sent by different people, different parties. So their views matter. The people who are in Azimio's views matter on every bill, because the bill is not going to affect, when it is assented to and it becomes an act of parliament, it's not going to affect only the Kenya Kwanza people. It's also going to affect all other Kenyans, including the Azimio people. So for that reason, we think if Parliament continues doing business in this manner, then we are going to have a problem as a country. But it's a matter that we intend to address holistically in the near future. So with those few remarks, I want to tell you, instead in participating in a rubber stamping process, in a legitimate process. So I think I can allow other members to say something. This morning in my office as the whip, I had a meeting with our members who voted yesterday, who voted with the bill. And they told me a very, very disheartening story. They told me that they were coerced, they were intimidated, they were told that projects that are going on in their constituencies will be stopped by the executive. Some of them told me they were called by executive members, senior executive members like PSs and ministers from the counties they come from, and told them that if you don't vote in this manner, then there is no development you are going to get. Even the little food they are distributing, some of them is out of hunger. They were told even the rice and the beans that we are sending to your constituents will be stopped. How? How can we do that? Honestly, how can we do that? What kind of strong arm tactics is that? I'm really in deep shock today that in 2024, the government of the Republic of Kenya can use that kind of tactics to make members of parliament vote in certain way. Members of parliament must always vote with their conscience, especially the members of parliament in the Azimio side. They must be allowed to vote with their conscience, they must be allowed to vote in accordance with their party position, and they must be allowed to vote what their constituents want. But if you are going to threaten them, intimidate them, they are people who are taxpayers. Taking development to members of parliament, areas represented by Azimio, is not a favor, it's a right. Their constituents, their people also pay taxes, just like the constituents, members of Kenya Kwanza pay taxes. So today I was really shocked, because I wanted to de-whip some of them, but some of them came crying on their knees and told me, my friend, I had a project going on in my constituency, and I got a phone call the previous day, and I was told, if you don't vote in this manner, we are going to stop that project in your constituency. I told him, stand up, don't worry, go and serve your people, but next time, don't listen to that, because we are going to make it very clear to the Kenyans that it is your right to get development, and it is your right to be served with your taxes.
Let me explain our complaint, and then as the group has explained, our first complaint is rushing the bill. You realize that this is only the third day since the bill was introduced. It was introduced last week on Thursday, which is the last day of sitting. Yesterday was Tuesday, and today is Wednesday. The idea of having a bill that is as important as it is, fast-tracked within 3 days, is a matter of national concern. And for those of you who will watch, you will see that all of us members here who were present yesterday during the second reading were denied the opportunity. I was the only one allowed by the Speaker to speak because I had made a special intervention, so that the voices of all of us who are here, the voices of their constituents, has not been heard. The second problem with the bill is that it's coming at a time that there was a court case that had declared the previous provisions within the Public Finance Act unconstitutional. There are two bases for that. One is the need to examine whether national government can involve itself in executing housing projects. And yet, under the Constitution, it is clearly one for the counties. National government is only allowed to give the policy. The second bit about that is the discrimination aspect of it, that those who are employed are made to pay an amount in a very clear formula. Yet those who are unemployed, there is no similarity in terms of clarity. Those two issues have not been addressed. We had thought that they would be addressed first before you come to conceiving what the bill looks like. Thirdly, it's in terms of the bill itself. As conceived, it is totally unclear on everything. It is unclear on who is to benefit. Yes, it is unclear on whether it is meant for ownership or renting. It is unclear on whether it's just for Kenyans or non-Kenyans can benefit. It's unclear on whether any of us can own 1,000 units to the detriment of others. It's unclear on so many things. So we had thought that again we will have a sit down and agree on clarity in terms of what we want. That has not been done. Now lastly, we had thought that even if they are to overlook all those things, there are certain technical things in which you can usually improve a bill, including, and as you know, they are seeking to tax the gross income, not net, gross. And we had thought that some of these things are almost commonsensical, that you can at least agree to disagree in principle, but you can tidy up the bill. So in good faith, we had proposed, as explained by Honorable Junet, a number of amendments. But it has become clear to us that the instructions that have come is to reject everything that comes by way of proposed amendment from our side. And that brings us to our last complaint. To have an August House, a parliament that receives instructions from the executive, and once it receives those instructions, it cannot execute its mandate under the Constitution, is to have a failed parliament. And therefore, the process that is going on is purely robotic, it is meaningless, it is prejudged, it was agreed in Naivasha. And that's why we've seen no purpose in continuing to legitimize it.
I did file an amendment. I did file an amendment to this housing levy bill that the Speaker has since denied its admissibility, and that is one of the reasons why we've decided to walk out. Number two, as we say, housing is not an issue of concern to Kenyans. Kenyans have serious things ranging from unemployment, high cost of living, to high cost of education that should be discussed on the floor of the parliament. Housing is a private good that should be left to Kenyans to decide on their own by providing jobs and letting them build their own houses. The government's role is to create an enabling environment so that Kenyans can build houses for themselves. The sole responsibility of the government is to work on the public goods, not private goods. Public goods like roads and merit goods like education, and also facilitating the consumption of health and education. Otherwise, we are not in support of this, because this bill is meant to defraud, to pilfer, to steal money from Kenyans. Thank you.
Almost everything. But let me just put it this way, that what Kenyans are witnessing and staring at is, what Kenyans are witnessing and staring at is dictatorship by William Ruto. I've said this before and I want to repeat it. This is the real Ruto. The Ruto we have seen for the past 12 or so months is a fake one. This is the Ruto, a dictator, one who does not care so long as his interest is served. This housing levy is serving no other person's interest but Ruto's interest. He is determined to push it, whether Kenyans like it or not, whether you are crying, he does not care. This bill is not good for Kenyans, and they know it. It's not that the executive does not know, but they still insist in pushing it, whether we make noise or not. Now, my final comment would be, I want to thank the leadership of Azimio. There was no reason why we should participate at all in the committee of the whole house, because this is already determined. So walking out is the right thing to do. Let us meet elsewhere. First, maybe courts. Two, I think Kenyans may go back to where we came from. Because if we have to be pushed this way, tomorrow you don't know what will happen. Let me just mention something that is very interesting, and Honorable Chindamolo mentioned it. That now any Kenyan, whether you are a farmer or you sell clothes, mutumba, or whatever you do, the government has the right to calculate 1.5% of your gross earnings, not net. Gross earnings, and deduct that as housing levy. What we are doing is simply setting Kenyans against the KRA. They will come to your doorsteps and start demanding for housing levy from you for I don't know what source of income. Thank you.